Ever wonder why we feel things like love or guilt or loyalty? Or maybe more importantly, why we sometimes do things that go completely against our own values? Well, today we're going to dive into the hidden evolutionary logic that drives so much of our behavior, all based on Robert Wright's incredible book, The Moral Animal.
And this quote just nails the central idea, right? We have this amazing toolbox of moral feelings, compassion, a sense of justice, love. But, and this is the kicker, the book argues that natural selection has programmed us to use these tools in some pretty sneaky ways, often just to serve our own self-interest. And the craziest part is, we don't even realize we're doing it. So that brings up the big question, why? Why are we wired like this? We are about to peek under the hood and look at the source code, that deep Darwinian logic that shapes everything from our love lives to our sense of justice. It's a fascinating, and yeah, sometimes a pretty uncomfortable look in the mirror. Okay, so let's start with a big one, sex and relationships. According to the book, because the reproductive goals of men and women aren't exactly the same, evolution has sparked this kind of psychological arms race between the sexes. And the key to understanding this conflict is something called parental investment theory. It all boils down to one simple biological fact. In humans, females have a way higher minimum investment to have a child. We're talking pregnancy, birth, nursing. That biological reality makes them the scarcer resource when it comes to reproduction, and that one fact changes the entire psychological game for both men and women.
So what you get are two very different and often clashing strategies. For the sex with lower investment, males, natural selection tends to favor a psychology that seeks more sexual variety and has on average lower standards. But for the high-investing sex, females, the winning strategy is to be much more selective, looking for real signs of commitment and resources. And that's where you get the arms race, a male tendency to be a little deceptive about commitment, met with a finely tuned female ability to detect that deception.
And look, this isn't just a theory. Check out this study. It is absolutely wild. When you ask men and women about the minimum intelligence they'd want in a partner for a date or for marriage, their answers are pretty much the same. But for a sexual partner, whoa. Women's standards shoot way up, while men's, well, they plummet. The point isn't that one is better than the other, it's just that these ancient evolutionary playbooks are still running in our modern brains.
Okay, so if we're all driven by this kind of selfish logic, that raises a huge question, right? Where does kindness come from? Why would we ever evolve to be nice to people we're not related to? I mean, this was a massive puzzle for Darwin, but it turns out modern game theory has a really elegant answer.
The answer is hidden inside the prisoner's dilemma. So imagine you and a buddy get caught. The police question you separately. No matter what your partner does, your best personal move is to snitch, right? If they stay quiet, you walk free. If they snitch too, you get less time than if you'd stayed quiet. But, and here's the trap, if you both follow that cold, hard logic, you both end up with a worse sentence than if you had just trusted each other and cooperated.
So what's the solution? Well, researchers ran computer tournaments where different strategies played this game thousands of times. And a beautifully simple strategy won over and over. It's called tit for tat. You start by being nice, you cooperate. After that, you just do whatever the other player did on the last move. It's nice, but it's not a pushover. And this simple logic is the foundation for what scientists call reciprocal altruism.
I love this quote's metaphor. A ratchet, is that tool that only turns one way. It clicks forward, but can't go back. And that's what happens with cooperation. Once it gets started, it tends to be self-reinforcing. Being nice becomes a smart strategy, which encourages others to be nice, and the whole system just clicks forward into greater social harmony.
Now, this logic of cooperation isn't just about simple exchanges. It's also at the heart of our deep, universal drive for social status, our ranking in the group. But the psychological tools we use to climb that ladder, well, this is where things get really weird and tricky.
All right, get ready for this, because it's a big one. From the book, your brain did not evolve to find the truth. It evolved to be a really, really good lawyer. Its primary job isn't to figure out what's objectively true. Its job is to win arguments, to justify your actions, and to make you look good to everyone else.
So, who is this lawyer's #1 client? You are. Your own genetic self-interest. And to be a truly convincing lawyer for yourself, it really helps if you actually believe your own spin. This is the whole evolutionary logic behind self-deception. The best way to fool other people is to fool yourself first.
And we do this all the time. When we succeed, it's because of our amazing skill. When we fail, oh, just bad luck. We repeat stories about ourselves until we believe our own distorted memories. We always think we did more work on the group project than we really did. We even convince ourselves that people we've hurt kind of had it coming. These aren't just little mental quirks. They are evolved tools for managing our public image, which is the currency of social status.
Okay, so if our brains are just our personal lawyers and our morals are just tools shaped by natural selection, what does that mean for huge ideas, like free will? I mean, if we're programmed this deeply, how much control do we actually have? Are we just robots running on evolutionary software?
What's amazing is that Darwin himself totally struggled with this. You can read his private notebooks, and he's wrestling with the implications of his own theory. He's basically saying, if every single action is just the result of our genes and our environment, where does free will even fit into the picture? It's a question that shakes the very foundation of moral responsibility.
And taking this perspective seriously could completely change how we think about justice. The traditional system, what you'd call retributive justice, is all about blame. It gets totally bogged down in unanswerable questions about free will. But a Darwinian, utilitarian approach just sits all that aside. It asks a much more practical question. What effect will this punishment have on the future? The goal isn't revenge, it's about preventing future harm and making society safer.
You know that old saying, to know all is to forgive all? Well, in this context, it takes on a whole new scientific weight. The more you understand the incredibly complex web of forces behind someone's behavior, their genes, their upbringing, their life experiences, the harder it gets to just slap a simple label like evil on them and assign blame. The black and white picture starts to fade to gray.
And all of this leaves us with one last, massive, challenging thought. If our moral compass was built by natural selection, not to be good for goodness sake, but just to give our genes an advantage, does that make morality meaningless? Or does understanding our own programming, seeing this hidden source code, give us the unique power to finally transcend it? That is the ultimate question that the moral animal leaves us to think about.